What happens when two passionate personalities collide on live television and neither one is willing to back down? The answer involves a country music legend, a daytime talk show host known for her candid style, and a conversation that spiraled so far out of control that cameras kept rolling while one guest did something almost no one ever does: walk right off the set in the middle of filming. Before we get into exactly what was said that made this whole thing explode, make sure you hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below telling us whose side you are on after you hear the full story, because this one is guaranteed to stir opinions. The interview started off exactly the way you would expect. Kelly Clarkson welcomed Craig Morgan with her usual warmth, smiling as the audience applauded him onto the stage. He waved, took his seat, and settled in comfortably. They talked about his latest album, his touring schedule, and his family. Kelly complimented his music. Craig thanked her sincerely. The tone was relaxed and friendly, the kind of easy conversation daytime television is built on. Then Kelly leaned forward and shifted gears. She brought up Craig's military service, noting his years in the Army and how open he had been about that part of his life. Craig nodded, still calm, still composed, explaining that his service shaped who he is. Kelly praised his dedication and sacrifice, then asked whether he ever reflected on the complexity of the missions he was part of, especially looking back now with distance. That was the moment everything changed. Craig's expression tightened. He asked her to clarify. Kelly pressed, explaining she meant the politics behind the conflicts and the broader consequences. Craig responded carefully but firmly, saying he served with honor and focused on protecting the people beside him, not debating policy. Kelly assured him she was not questioning his service. She then asked whether he thought about civilians on the other side and the families affected by war. The room went quiet. Craig explained that every soldier carries those thoughts, but said the questions felt like an attempt to make him apologize for serving. Kelly denied that and framed it as an honest conversation. Craig disagreed. He said there is a difference between curiosity and guilt-driven questioning. His tone sharpened as he explained what complexity really looks like from the ground. Watching friends die, coming home changed, carrying memories that never leave. The friendly interview had become something else entirely, and both of them could feel it. Kelly tried to slow things down, saying Craig might be misunderstanding her intent. She suggested shifting the conversation toward how his service influenced his music. Craig paused, considered it, and agreed. The tension eased slightly, though it never fully disappeared. Kelly asked who he writes those songs for. Craig answered without hesitation: veterans, families, and civilians who might not understand that world. He talked about honoring sacrifice and making sure stories are not forgotten. It was a sincere answer, grounded and personal. Then Kelly hesitated before asking her next question. She wondered whether those songs ever simplified reality, whether they might glorify war without fully showing the pain and trauma that come with it. Craig's demeanor changed instantly. He stopped her mid-thought and told her she was doing it again. Kelly defended herself, saying she wanted a nuanced conversation about art and responsibility. Craig pushed back hard. He explained that when he writes about fallen soldiers, he is thinking about their families, not political framing or public debate. Kelly responded that narratives shape public opinion and policy, whether artists intend them to or not. That was when Craig made it clear he felt lectured. He said he came to talk about music, not to defend how he honors the people he served with. Kelly said she was not lecturing him. Craig disagreed. The audience sat frozen as Kelly tried to reset. She softened her tone and said she respected veterans, but believed difficult conversations mattered. Craig replied that this did not feel difficult. It felt insulting. He pointed out the imbalance. A host in a comfortable chair questioning decisions made in life or death situations. Kelly said she was criticizing the system, not him. Craig answered that she was asking him the questions, not politicians or generals. He said he was tired of veterans being treated like props for conversations that make others feel thoughtful. The room reacted now. You could sense the shift. Kelly noticed it too. She said Craig was a human being with a complicated experience. Craig responded that honesty cuts both ways. He said he could tell when an interviewer wants to listen and when they want validation for a point they already believe. Kelly took offense. Craig stood his ground. The conversation was no longer about music or even war. It was about intent, respect, and who gets to define someone else's story. Kelly suggested moving on to tour dates. Craig refused. He said she started the conversation and should finish it. Kelly said it was no longer productive. Craig countered that it only became unproductive once he pushed back. Kelly asked what he wanted from her. Craig said he wanted understanding. He explained that discussing military service is not abstract. It is personal. Real lives, real grief. He accused her of using trauma as a launching point for commentary. Kelly denied that. Craig challenged her. For the first time, Kelly dropped her host persona and accused Craig of coming in defensive, ready for a fight. Craig admitted that might be true, but said experience taught him to expect it. Kelly asked him to explain what she did wrong. Craig laid it out, questioning whether his songs glorify war, bringing politics into personal service, framing pride as something that needs to be interrogated. Kelly said she wanted to go beyond surface-level praise. Craig said he already lived the complexity. He did not need someone else to define it for him, or suggest he was handling it incorrectly. Kelly insisted she never said he was wrong. Craig said implication matters. He accused her of believing skepticism is the only enlightened position and that pride must mean ignorance. Kelly said his conclusions were not beyond discussion. Craig replied that discussion becomes meaningless when it is done in bad faith. Kelly bristled at that accusation. Craig stood by it, saying she invited him to prove a point, not to be heard. Kelly finally admitted she had preconceived notions. She said Craig did too. He agreed, but said hers showed up in every question. They stared at each other in silence while the studio held its breath. Kelly asked where they go from here. Craig said nowhere. He stood up, removed his microphone, and said he was done defending his life to someone who already made up her mind. Kelly stood as well, asking him to pause. Craig said he had already been patient. He placed the microphone on the chair and told her he would not be lectured on national television about the most important years of his life. Kelly insisted again that she was not lecturing him, though even she sounded uncertain. Craig said that was exactly what was happening. He accused her of turning his service and his music into an example instead of listening to what he was actually saying. The audience gasped as Craig turned and walked off the stage. Kelly called after him, asking him not to do this. He did not stop. Cameras followed him as murmurs rippled through the crowd. Kelly stood there alone, visibly shaken, trying to regain control of a moment that had slipped completely out of her hands. The interview was over, but the conversation had only just begun. So what do I do now? Do I keep going and unpack what happened after the cameras stopped? How the internet reacted, and what this moment says about how we talk to veterans and difficult subjects on television? Or do I let this moment stand on its own and move on?